We are fast approaching the biggest WrestleMania of all time, where we will see what is being described as the biggest tag team match of all time. Cody Rhodes and WWE World Champion Seth Freakin Rollins versus the undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns and one of the biggest stars on the planet, The Rock. This match is happening as a result of a series of whiplash-inducing twists and turns. But don't get it twisted. This was not a carefully crafted bit of creative from a creative cabinet. This match is all the fault of Jack Perry. Yes, AEW and New Japan star, former boy of the jungle, and offspring of Dylan from off of 90210 that time, Jack Perry is responsible for night one of WrestleMania 40. Let's talk about how this beardy butterfly flapped its wings and caused a tornado in Titan Towers in the form of a tag team match. WrestleMania seemed pretty straightforward at the tail end of 2023. However, a straight-edged spanner was thrown into the works when CM Punk entered the free agent market, marking an, until that moment, inconceivable WWE comeback at the end of Survivor Series. 2 years prior, Punk had made his return to wrestling via Tony Khan's real-life EWR save known as All Elite Wrestling. He was here to redefine his legacy and work with the young stars of tomorrow. He was a big fan of the locker room in AEW when he arrived and the energy from this new revolution. Here he is in September of 2021, arm around young lad Jungle Boy, leading the AEW crowd in a rousing rendition of the Golden Girls theme. Punk promised to teach Jungle Boy the song Thank You for Being a Friend by Andrew Gold, a banger, as he was too young to remember the Golden Girls. So not only is CM Punk educating young lads in arm drags, but also on B. Arthur. Now, as we know, that golden period was gone some 12 months later. It was a year, almost the day after that moment, that CM Punk found himself in an all-state arena full of friends. Well, not all of them were friends in 2023 when he returned to WWE. You see, Punk's comeback to the E got the dander up of World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, visibly outraged and having to be held back by Michael Cole as Survivor Series went off air. It would transpire that all the competitors in that night's main event, that War Games match, were only informed that Phil Brooks was back on the books moments before they went out for the fight. Orchestrated maneuvers in the dark added to the reaction from the roster, and Seth Rollins would be one of the more perturbed by Punk. After all, at the start of the year, during a WWE 2K23 event, Seth Rollins had some very pointed comments regarding CM Punk, then suspended from AEW. Quote, "Philly Phil, stay away, you cancer, stay away from me forever. I don't like Phil. He's a jerk. I don't want him back. Go do something else. Bye-bye. See you later." Yeah, get the vibe that Rollins isn't a fan. That's really a strong word to use, isn't it? Cancer. To some, Punk was wrestling's savior. To others, he was a toxic crusader. It was a reputation that had come from a now infamous press conference at AEW All Out 2022. You know the one by now, the one where CM Punk eviscerates his colleagues and scorches the AEW tarmac in between mouthfuls of muffins. It's a far cry from that lovely scene of CM Punk and Jungle Boy singing the Golden Girls theme together. In fact, that night, there were seeds planted at All Out to turn Jungle Boy into a Jungle Man. A series of events saw the Tarzan vibes ditched and Jack Perry born soon after. AEW have always seen Perry as a pillar of the company, and it was time for this pillar to potentially prop up the main event scene. With the AEW locker room suddenly seemingly less friendly than we thought, it would prove to be a difficult thing to navigate whilst keeping your head. Rollins' head by the end of 2023, however, was full of CM Punk chants. Rollins would be dogged by pro-Punk sing-alongs at live events and on episodes of Raw, but he refused to utter the man's name. Instead, he took potshots and scoffed at the thought of CM Punk being back in WWE. CM Punk knew Rollins was in his crosshairs, and the two finally shared a game of pipe bomb tennis before the end of the year. "Don't you dare call this place your home," Rollins said, staring into the eyes of the man he had called a cancer at the beginning of the same year, calling out Punk for spending 10 years trying to bring the company down and then waltzing in like nothing happened. Rollins was confident that it was just a matter of time before the real CM Punk turned up, saying he would, quote, self-destruct like he always does. The real CM Punk. Now, Punk had issues with management during his first WWE run a decade prior. That goes without saying. However, his AEW eruption had truly changed the culture around him. His extended time away on suspension following that all-out brawl-out, an injury that occurred at the pay-per-view as well, coupled with a lack of resolution from other EVPs like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, it caused an attitude adjustment in CM Punk in his final months of AEW life. When he returned to the company, reports presented him as unwilling to suffer fools gladly and falling out in lumps with the AEW locker room. One of those who caught the thick end of the wedge from CM Punk was Jack Perry. As reported at the time by The Observer, Perry, now newly minted as a heel, wanted to record an angle on AEW Collision using real glass to explain why he was going to miss a week of TV for a pre-planned and approved vacation to Hawaii, lovely, and to set up a future match with Hook. AEW had already approved the spot and a car was at the arena to do the angle on Collision, but Punk intervened, saying the angle didn't require real glass. Punk very much treated Collision as his show, so he actually nixed the segment completely. Those close to CM Punk made the argument public knowledge, and Perry believed the way that the incident was reported made him look bad. We would hear about Jack Perry having, quote, a tantrum appearing backstage, the latest in the ongoing saga of CM Punk versus the Locker Room. Perry's negative feelings towards CM Punk festered, as did Seth Rollins. Punk's arrival into WWE was met publicly with such concern based on his prior reported behaviour that a feud with Seth Rollins, the guy who'd referred to him as a cancer in earlier interviews, was a no-brainer. The journey had begun for a titanic, line-blurring WrestleMania showdown between these two men, providing Seth Rollins can keep his world title a little longer and providing CM Punk wins the Royal Rumble. There was somebody else who wanted that golden WrestleMania ticket though, and that was world-famous story finisher Cody Rhodes. After being screwed over by the Bloodline and humbled by a rubber chicken at WrestleMania 39, Rhodes had made it clear that he wanted to do the double in the Rumble, be the first person to win back-to-back Rumble matches since 1998, I think it was. And he did, last eliminating CM Punk to a huge ovation. He then pointed to the skybox where Roman Reigns was sat and called him out for WrestleMania 40. However, two twists in the tale were on the horizon. At least one, completely unbeknownst to Cody Rhodes at the time, would see that journey almost derailed. It was during his time in the Royal Rumble match that CM Punk had an injury rear its ugly head once more. Torn triceps left Punk in an immense amount of pain in the closing moments of the Rumble match, but the finish went as planned, with Cody sending Punk to the floor last and winning Rumble numero 2. Punk's triceps had been almost literally a thorn in his side for a while. He tore his left triceps during his match with Jon Moxley at AEW All Out 2022, the same night that an injured and irritated Phil Brooks dropped some home truths and vented his spleen during, as we have already discussed today, and throughout time, wrestling's most memorable press conference ever. The one that led to a well-documented fight with Rashomon-esque levels of recall and a suspension for CM Punk and the parties involved. Punk returned from that injury and, as we have been saying, wasn't so much hungry for success, but more hangry for validation. and it all led to what is essentially the genesis point of WrestleMania 40's blockbuster main event. It led to Wembley Stadium in August of 2023. Having taken umbrage with CM Punk's suggestion that he use gimmick glass in a backstage segment the weeks prior, and the general vibe that CM Punk was being a bit of a dick, Jack Perry sent Hook onto a windscreen of a car during their FTW title match before staring down the camera and straight into CM Punk and shouting, "Real glass! Go cry me a river." These 7 words got back to CM Punk, and Punk saw red. Jack Perry, having let the incident with CM Punk in the weeks prior gnarl up inside him, let off steam and unwittingly started a fire. The two got punchy following Perry's match, and Punk reportedly launched into a tirade at Tony Khan, leaving him fearing for his own life. Tony Khan, that is, not CM Punk. This whole mess led to Jack Perry's suspension following a fight after his match at Wembley Stadium, and after an investigation, it led to the termination of CM Punk with cause. That shot in the direction of Punk is our butterfly flapping its wings. The comment that led to the firing, that led to Survivor Series, that led to the return, that led to the Rumble. And in that, in turn, led to CM Punk tearing his triceps, and those meticulous plans for WrestleMania 40, for that worky-shooty showcase between Rollins and Punk, completely were scrapped. Rollins now needed a new WrestleMania opponent. Enter Cody Rhodes, the winner of the Royal Rumble. 2 years prior, Cody Rhodes was an EVP in AEW, an overseer for the likes of Jack Perry in Tony Khan's Roaring Elbow Emporium. Cody says his reason for leaving was a personal issue. In previous documentaries before he left, Cody said one of the main issues facing AEW in the future is the mixing of WWE and AEW ideologies. Cody was keen to present AEW in a more NWA territory type way, according to reports, whilst the Bucks and Kenny Omega envisioned it more like an indie with money, like a GCW with a big bank account. His big WWE dub came during a week of big changes in WWE, with Vince McMahon departing as TKO exec chairman and The Rock, of all people, joining the board of directors. A few weeks before this, old Dwayne had made some spicy comments aimed at his cousin Roman Reigns and the possibility that one could sit at the head of the table. Cody was asked in the run-up to the Rumble if he was concerned about The Rock challenging the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, but he seemed to brush it off and had every hope that everything would work out A-OK. But he was not correct. Reports revealed that he got informed just before the Royal Rumble match got underway that WWE would be pivoting away from Cody finishing the story at WrestleMania 40. Instead, WWE would go all in on a match that has genuinely been hyped, teased, cajoled, and flirted with for many years now: The Rock versus Roman Reigns. Cody was still going to win the Rumble, but the plan was he would be written off WrestleMania 40 entirely owing to a vicious attack by the Bloodline, one that would see The Rock return to save the day, take down the mighty Roman Empire in the process, and take back the kingdom. Cody, a company guy, God bless him, nodded and accepted this 12-inch slice of bollocks before going out there and doing his thing quite fantastically. It's worth pointing out that the creative offering which you just heard was pushed back against by WWE top brass Triple H, but the universe would play its serendipity card and roll for luck the following week. You see, Punk's injury left Seth Rollins without a challenger for WrestleMania, and since Pepsi Phil was scheduled to win the men's Elimination Chamber match the following month and go on to fight him at WrestleMania, it meant that months of plans were suddenly out of the window. Pepsi Phil, however, was canned for the rest of the year, and as a result of his triceps injury, wasn't going to be factored into WWE for a long time. Seth Rollins then began a PR campaign to attract the attention of Royal Rumble winner Cody Rhodes. In a series of promos and beautifully produced vignettes, Rollins sold the perceived heritage and distinction of the WWE World Heavyweight title. that he had held as the true title the Rhodes family would want in their trophy cabinet, as opposed to this Hollywood-poisoned Universal Championship. The creation of the world title around the dancing waist of Seth freaking Rollins is the result of a sports entertainment butterfly effect in itself. Just to sort of pivot for a second, those particular wings got flapped on January the 1st, 2022, when Roman Reigns contracted COVID-19. Consequently, he was pulled from WWE day one, and it was there he was going to face and reportedly lose his Universal title to Brock Lesnar as a way of setting up a rematch in the main event of WrestleMania that year. With Roman unable to compete, Brock Lesnar was shoehorned into the four-way match for Big E's WWE title, which he subsequently won. And it led to a bit of title swappage between he and Bobby Lashley as WrestleMania became for both the WWE and Universal titles. A winner-take-all stipulation rather than just the one belt. Since that fateful night, Roman has called himself Undisputed, a title that led to a new title. We can't really blame Jack Perry for that one, I'm afraid. After all, he didn't create COVID as far as we know. As carefully and as skillfully crafted as those arguments from Seth Rollins were, nobody really believed for a second that Cody Rhodes was going to choose Seth Rollins over Roman Reigns. After being embarrassed last year by the Bloodline, Cody always looked to Roman Reigns and declared, to quote Bristolian 90s alt-rock band The Sundays, "Here's where the story ends." Why on earth would Cody Rhodes change his mind on the destination when he was just a few miles away from reaching it? Well, because WWE had to solve a problem that was caused by a void in the WrestleMania card left by a now benched CM Punk, something that wasn't factored in until like November. Penciled in on Triple H's notepad was now a new look WrestleMania card that featured Seth Rollins defending the world title against Cody Rhodes. And Triple H clearly didn't want to do what the writers and the higher-ups wanted and write Cody off the show. He didn't think it was fair to deny the American Nightmare a WrestleMania payday. And it had to be Rollins, really, because new WWE chairman The Rock was keen to put Roman Reigns against upcoming young talent The Rock. This led to a divisive segment on SmackDown following the Rumble, in which Cody Rhodes, instead of being beaten up by the Bloodline and taken out of WrestleMania as first pitched, instead relinquished his opportunity at Roman Reigns at WrestleMania in favor of the People's Champion Big Dwayne. The stare down between The Rock and Roman Reigns garnered an earth-shattering reaction from the live crowd. But Cody Rhodes solemnly looking back to the ring as he left got almost as much attention from people watching at home. This was removed from WWE's YouTube channel, by the way, highlighting the new WrestleMania main event, but it was too late. The backlash online to having the guy who carried the company step aside for a former wrestler, now Hollywood actor, was just too loud. WWE chose not to drown it out like they had done in years prior, when fans took storylines in their own direction and decided to lean in. The Rock and Roman Reigns was perfectly teased at the WrestleMania kickoff event, only for Cody Rhodes to step in and reclaim his title shot from The Rock. Ashamed grandfathers were called out and slaps were slapped, with Seth Rollins joining Cody Rhodes in the fight against this new and meaner than ever version of the Bloodline, in an alliance that was born on that very night. And that pretty much brings us up to speed. WrestleMania 40, Roman Reigns and The Rock versus Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. A match born out of WWE pivoting away from their plans and embracing public opinion. A match that is happening due to the falling down of a planned WrestleMania match. A match that was only happening in the first place, and this is why we're here, because of Jack Perry. Had Jack Perry not thrown shade on CM Punk that day at All In, had he taken the high ground instead, we would not have had the Wembley Brawl. CM Punk wouldn't have been fired immediately from AEW. He would not have re-signed with WWE. He would not have turned up at Survivor Series. He would not have landed a WrestleMania-bound storyline with Seth Rollins. He wouldn't have entered the Royal Rumble. He wouldn't have torn his triceps. He wouldn't have left Seth Rollins Rollins without his planned WrestleMania moment and, due to factors around Cody Rhodes, would not have lined him and his goals up so perfectly to form the biggest tag team match in WrestleMania history. WrestleMania 40 is all Jack Perry's fault. It seems so fitting that Jack Perry's New Japan debut came with a new gimmick calling himself the Scapegoat, because we very much put all the blame for this match on you, Jack Perry, and for that we say, cheers, mate, nice one. Stay safe. Love you, bye.